guys. So the next part of Module 5 is Module 5.2, and we are writing equations in standard and point slope forms. And look at our learning target now. I can write equations of lines in point slope form, and I can create and identify equations of parallel or perpendicular lines. Okay, so let's quickly talk about what is the point slope formula. And I have written it out. And so when the slope and the coordinates of one point of a line are known, an equation for the line can be written in the point slope form. Okay, so once again, I'll know the ordered pair of one of the points and I'll be given a slope. So that's one way to calculate. And another way to calculate is if two ordered pairs on that line are provided to me. And then I can calculate the slope and then move on from there. Okay, so let's look at this one over here. And we are basically, you're looking at the linear equation, and the point slope form is y minus y1 is equal to m and times x minus x1. Remember, m is the slope and the y, we will have y1, and that is one of the ordered pairs that will be provided, and we will have x1, which is the other ordered pair that is provided. So once again, y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1 is written in point slope form, where x1, y1 is a given point on a non-vertical line and m is the slope of the line. Okay, and so if I need to plot it, I can just plot it on the coordinate graph based on a point that is provided to me. Let's say I am given the slope and I'm given like 2, 3, so I have 2, 3 over here, and so I will plot that, and then based on the slope it's going to go this way or this way depending on what the slope is, and that's what we are about to do right now. Okay, we can also be given 2 points on the line or a point on the line and its slope. So you can write an equation for the line in point slope form, and so in that case we find the slope, and we know how to find the slope, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, right? And so we can use that format. We find the slope and we choose one of the 2 points to use and then follow the steps for writing an equation given the slope and 1 point. So let's start with this first question that I have put over here. And it says write an equation in point slope form for the line that passes through -2, 7 and has a slope of -3 over 2, and then graph the equation. So let's go ahead and solve this. So we are going to start by writing out our point slope form. So which is y minus y1 is equal to m x minus x1. So this is the first step that we are doing over here. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we already have been given the points. So -2 is what? This is going to be x and 7 is the y. And my slope has been provided to me. So now all I'm doing is I am substituting these values, and so this is y minus 7, y minus 7. So we don't know the second point, right? We just know one of them. So it's basically y2 minus y1. So we're going to assume this is y1. Okay, so y minus 7, we always subtract the second number, is equal to m x minus, what is x minus -2 is what we are about to do, because this is, look, minus, this is -2. Okay, So once I have this, I know that negative becomes, when I'm removing negativity, it becomes plus, because what am I doing? I'm adding the opposite. So therefore, this becomes y minus 7 is equal to mx plus 2. Okay, so I have simplified this, and now what I'm going to do is I am going to plot the given point. What is my given point? It is negative 2, 7. So here is negative 2 and here is 7. So I'm going to plot this point. And then I'm going to go ahead and I am going to use the slope to plot another point on the line. So I know that my negative 3 over 2 is my slope, right? So negative 3, the 3 is the change in the y, and we know it's a downward slope. And 2 is the change in the run, which is the x. So we are going to go down 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2. So here is my next point on that line. So now once I have that, I can draw a line through the points. Now, it's going to be hard to make a straight line on this, but I'll try. Okay, there we go. All right, so there is my graph that I just plotted using my slope and the ordered pair over here. And then here is the point slope form of that equation, which has been written out. Okay, so let's do another one really quick. So here's another question. We are now again determining the equation in point slope form for the line that passes through 7, 5 and the slope of negative 3. So let's go ahead and use the point slope formula once again. And we are going to do y minus y1 is equal to mx minus x1. So I am going to substitute the values, and I have what is y is 5. So this is going to be y minus 5 is equal to mx minus 7. Okay, so I have now put the equation, and that is the equation of this question, and in the point slope form. And now I'm going to go ahead and graph it. So I'm going to take 7, 5. So here is 7, and we have 5, which is here. Okay, so here is 7, 5. My slope is 3. So this means negative 3 over 1. That means negative means my slope is going downwards. So it is going 3 down, which is my run, and the 3 down, which is my rise, and 1 run. Okay, so here we go. We go 1, 2, 3. So from 5, we are coming 1, 2, 3, which is to 2, and then we are going 1 to the right. So here is my other point. Okay, so once I have this, then all I'm doing is I am connecting, and here is my line which is graphed out. That is the equation which is graphed out. All right, so let's do another question in which now we have 2 ordered pairs on that line provided to me, and not the slope. So now what I need to do is I need to first find the slope. Okay, so let's look at this one. Write an equation in point slope form for the line that passes through the given points. So I've been given this ordered pair and that ordered pair. So this is a line that's going through these two. So the first thing that I will need to do is to use the slope formula in order to calculate what the slope is. So my slope formula is m, which is slope, is equal to change in y over change in x. Right? And so now I am going to substitute the values, and we know that this is x1 and this is y1 and this is x2 and this is y2. Okay, so let's do, here's y2. So slope is equal to -3 minus -7, which is change in y, and then x2 is 6 minus 2. Okay, and then when I do this, what is a -3 plus 7? So -3 plus 7, because you are going to add the opposite, or removing negativity gives me positivity. So this actually becomes m is equal to -3 plus 7 over 6 minus 2, and I'm left with, what is 7 minus 3? I'm going to get 4 over 4, and so my slope is 1. My slope is 1. Okay? And then the next thing that I am going to do is I am going to select either point for x1, y1 in the point slope formula. So, and of course I can graph it later, but in this one we are just writing an equation. So therefore now my point slope formula is y minus y1 is equal to mx minus x1. And then I am going to substitute the values by taking either ordered pair. So I'm going to go ahead and take this ordered pair, which is 6, -3. And so that is y minus -3 is equal to, what is my slope that I just found? It is 1. And so I'm going to write 1x minus, what is my ordered pair that I've taken? 6, so minus 6. And so the negative and negative together, this becomes plus 3, removing negativity gives me positivity, is equal to 1 times x is x, and minus 1 times 6 is 6. So now here is my point slope formula, or the form. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to do is we are going to write y plus 4 is equal to -2 times x minus 6 in slope intercept form. And we know that the slope intercept form is y is equal to mx plus b, okay, where m is the slope and b is my y intercept. So we are going to take what we have, and in this case we are of course going to move this to this side, and we're of course going to use the distributive property first in order to solve. Okay, so in order to solve this, it's -2 times x. I'm going to start like this. I'm going to do y plus 4 is equal to, I'm going to solve this first, okay, and -2 times x, so it's -2x, and negative times negative gives me positive, so 2 times 6 is 12. Once I have this, I know that I need to isolate the y, because my slope intercept form is y is equal to mx plus b. So I can see that the plus 4 is with y. What is the inverse of addition? Is subtraction. So I am going to subtract 4 from both sides of the equation, because whatever I do on one side, I do the same thing on the other. And so 4 minus 4 is 0, and y is equal to -2x, and what is 12 minus 4? I get 8. Okay, and so therefore this is my slope intercept form. All right. So now we have a word problem, and it's saying to apply point slope form. And for reading, Nadia's book club is ordering new novels. She knows that the total cost of 5 books is $61.25 and 15 books cost $159.75. Write an equation in point slope form to represent the total cost y of ordering x books. Okay, so when I look at this one, I am first going to use the point, the slope formula, because I know what is my ordered pair. Okay, so for my first one, I have 5 books is for $61.25. So here is my X1, Y1. Okay, and then my second one, I have 15 books is for $159.75. So this is my X2, Y2. Okay, so the first thing I am going to do is to calculate what the slope is. Okay, trying to see. Okay, there you go. So my slope is y2 minus y1 is equal to x2 minus x1. x2 minus x1. So I'm going to substitute those values for slope, and I have 159 and 7500 minus 61 and 2500 over 15 minus 5. 15 minus 5. Okay, and this gives me 98 and 5/10 over 10. So what is my slope? It's going to be 9 and 8500. So this is my slope. So that's the first step. Okay, the second step is to write it in the point slope form. Y minus y1 is equal to mx minus x1. So we are going to use any of we're going to use the x1, y1 over here, and we are going to go ahead and put that into our equations. We're using any of those ordered pairs. I'm just going to use x1, y1 in this case. Okay, so I have what do I have here? I have y minus 61 and 2500. And what did I get for the slope? I got 9 and 8500. X minus, what is my x1 is 5. So there is my point slope form written out in this format. The next thing we are going to learn is to write in standard form. So the next thing over here, as you can see here, is my question. It's y minus 1 is equal to negative 2/5 times x plus 3. And we are writing this in standard form. So standard form, whenever we normally write equations, it's like x plus y is equal to, for example, 20. Or x minus 5y is equal to 32. So when I'm putting the variables on one side is equal to whatever the constant is on the other side, or the number which is standing independently on the other side, that is a standard form. So let's look at this one, what we have. So the first thing what we are going to do is we are doing our distributive property. Right? So, or what we can do is, this also means that is divided by 5. So I can just go ahead and straight up instead of, I can distributive property, but I can also do where I am straight up, because what is the inverse of division? It is multiplication, right? So I can straight up take that 5 and multiply it on both sides, okay, to eliminate the fraction part. So I am going to do here, inverse of division is multiplication. So I am going to do 5y minus 1 is equal to, and I know that negative 2/5 times 5, that's basically what I've just done. And then we have x plus 3. Because I am trying to do what? I am eliminating the fractional part, because 5 divided by 5 gives me 1. So now what do I have? I have 5y, now I'm doing the distributive property. And minus 5 times 1 is 5, okay, is equal to, again, distributive property now. Negative 2 times x, what do I have? I have negative 2x, and negative times positive is going to give me negative. So that gives me negative 2 times 3 is minus 6. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and I am taking this 5 and I am going to add it to each side of the equation. Okay, so plus 5 plus 5. And what do I get? I am left with 5y is equal to negative 6 plus 5 gives me negative 1, right? So I have negative 2x minus 1. And now I will need to move the negative 2x to the other side. So when I'm doing that, I know what is the inverse of negative is positive. So I'm going to add 2x to both sides of the equation. And then what am I left with? I have 2x plus 5y is equal to negative 1. And we normally write it in this format. We write x first, then we write y, z, etc. in the proper alphabetical order. Mostly that's how it is written out. Okay, so now this is my standard form of the equation. All right, once again, put the variables on that side and put the independent constant on this side. And that is a standard form of writing an equation. Here's my ordered pair, 8, negative 4, and I have negative 6, negative 11. So the first thing that I need to do is find the slope of the line. So we are going to use the slope formula, where slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we know that this is x1, this is y1, this is x2, and this is y2. So we are going to take these values and we are going to substitute it into this formula. So therefore slope is equal to, what is y2? y2 is negative 11 minus y1, which is negative 4, over x2, which is negative 6, minus x1, which is 8. So I know that if I have negative next to each other, we add the opposite. So this is nothing but negative 11 plus 4. And so this is nothing but plus 4. Okay? And so therefore, I get slope is equal to negative 7. And since these are the same signs, we are going to add it. And 6 plus 8 gives me 14, and the sign is negative. Okay? Now, when I divide negative by negative, I'm going to get positive. And 7/14 in the simplest form is 1/2. So my slope is 1/2. Okay? Then the next thing that I am going to do is I am going to write an equation in the slope-intercept form. So this was the slope formula. This was the slope formula. Now I'm going to use the slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form. Okay, and at the end I will use the point slope form. Okay, and then of course if I'm putting it into standard. So let's go on over here, and we are going to write y is equal to mx plus b. And what is my y? So I'm going to take this and I'm going to say -4 is equal to, what is my slope is 1/2. It's going to be 1/2, and what is my x is 8. So times 8 plus b. Okay, and then I am going to simplify. This is 1, this is 4, right? And so -4 is equal to 4 plus b. And so now for me to find the y-intercept, I am going to remove 4 from both sides. And so my b is equal to negative plus negative is going to give me -8 over here. Okay, so now I know that here y is equal to mx plus b. My slope-intercept form would be y is equal to, what is my slope? It is 1/2 x plus, but here it's a not plus, it's a what? It's a -8, because my slope is, my y-intercept is -8. So 0, -8 is where my graph is going to be crossing the y-axis. So I have this written out now. And then the last thing I am going to do, I'm going to write the equation in standard form. So taking this slope-intercept form, put it on the top to show you how I'm changing it to my standard form. And so y is equal to 1/2 x minus 8. So now what I'm trying to get rid of the fractional part. So I am going to go and multiply each side with 2. So this becomes 2y is equal to 2 times 1/2 x, right, minus 8. So here we go. I'll just write it like this. And so what's happening here? This is 2y is equal to, what is 2 divided by 2? And that gives me a 1, right? If I take it this way. And then I have only x left. Minus, what is 2 times 8 here? And this is 16. And then what do I need to do? I need to take the x to the other side. So if this is plus, what is the inverse of addition? Is subtraction. So minus x, and I am left with, hold on. Okay, so I have -x plus 2y is equal to, this is gone, -16. And then I am going to multiply each side by -1. Okay, so then what happens if I am multiplying with -1 over here, this whole thing and this whole thing by -1? So negative times negative becomes positive. This is x. Negative times positive becomes negative, is equal to negative times negative becomes positive. So x minus 2y is equal to 16 is the standard form of writing this equation. The next thing I want to talk to you about is the equations of parallel and perpendicular lines. And let's look at what these are. Non-vertical lines in the same plane that have the same slope are called parallel lines. So they'll have, it's like two lines going this way. So they're going to have exactly the same slope. And then non-vertical lines in the same plane for which the product of the slope is -1 are called perpendicular lines. So basically parallel lines have exactly the same slope. And in perpendicular lines, we are taking the reciprocal, and if it's positive, it will become negative. If it's negative, it will become positive. Okay, so the inverse and the reciprocal slope is a perpendicular line. So let me show you this. Here we go. Look at this. So here are the parallel lines. Okay, they have exactly the same slope, and both these lines have a slope of 1/2. So you are going up 1 and you are going 2 to the right. Okay, so up 1, 2 to the right, up 1, 2 to the right. So that's what this is. Okay, so rise over run, rise over run. So my slope is 1/2. And same thing over here, up 1, 2 to the right. So these are parallel lines. They have exactly the same slope. Let's look at the perpendicular lines. Okay, so here they are intersecting, and we know that what is the inverse or the reciprocal of 1/2 is going to be 2 over 1. And then the opposite sign would be -2 over 1, because that's the only way when I multiply 1/2 times -2 over 1 will I get a product of -1. Okay, and so that's what this is. And so that's how the slope of a perpendicular line is going to be different, okay, compared to a parallel line. So we have a question over here, and it's talking about parallel line to a given point. And so I just need to remember one thing. You can write an equation of a line parallel or perpendicular to a given line if you know a point on the line and an equation of the given line. And so the first thing is what we need to identify the slope of the line. And then we're going to use the point slope form with slope m and the coordinates of the given point. And we are going to rewrite the equation in the needed form. So let's go ahead and look at this first question that we have over here. It's saying write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line that passes through -4, 2 and is parallel to the graph of y is equal to 3x minus 5. So when I look at this and I'm looking at my equation, I can see that y is equal to mx plus b. So my slope is how much? This is my slope, which is the m, right? So my slope is 3 in this case. And the line that is going to be parallel to this is going to have, because it's talking about a parallel line, okay? So if it's a parallel line, it is going to have exactly the same slope, which is going to be 3. So that's the first thing that I need to identify. The next thing is I have been given an ordered pair, so I am going to go ahead and use the point slope formula. So y minus y1 is equal to mx minus x1, and that's because I have the slope and I have one of the ordered pairs. Okay, so now I'm going to do, this is x and this is y. So y minus 2 is equal to, since it's a parallel line, it's going to have exactly the same slope, which is 3. And then we have over here x minus, what is x1? Is -4. Okay, and so what am I left with now? I have y minus 2 is equal to 3, and what will, adding the opposite, this becomes plus 4. Okay, and then I use the distributive property, and I have y minus 2 is equal to 3 times x is 3x plus 3 times 4 is 12. Okay, and now I am going to Since it's minus 2, what am I doing on both sides? I'm going to add 2. So this is plus 2. I'm using the addition property of equality, plus 2. And then what am I left with? I'm left, because this is gone now. So I'm left with y is equal to 3x plus 14. 3x plus 14. And so this is my answer over here, writing an equation in the slope-intercept form for this line. Okay. The next one that we are going to do is we're going to write an equation for a perpendicular line through a given point. So write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line that passes through 1, -2 and is perpendicular to the graph of 3x plus 2y is equal to 12. So the first thing, I'm going to again identify the slope of this line, and I know that y is equal to mx plus b. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to put it in that format. So I can see over here, the 3 will have to come to this side. So this will have to be minus 3x, and then we have minus 3x, because whatever I do on one side, I do the same thing on the other side. So I'm left with 3x minus 3x is 0. So I'm left with 2y is equal to negative 3x plus 12. Right? And then I have got to find out what is y equal to. So this is divided by 2, and same thing here. Because if inverse of multiplication is division. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, and y is equal to. So you can see that I get my slope as negative 3x over 2 plus 6. Okay, now this is what I have right now. Now I need to see that since it's a perpendicular line, the slope of the line with equation 3x plus 2y is equal to 12 is negative 3 over 2, right? So the slope of the line perpendicular to this would be the opposite sign, because look, if I have negative 3 over 2, then it needs to be multiplied by the reciprocal with the opposite sign, which would be positive, right? And that's the only way that I am going to get negative 1. And so knowing this about perpendicular lines, I know that the slope of negative 3 over 2 is going to be what now of the perpendicular line? Is going to be 2/3. Okay, so I'm now going to go ahead and use the point slope formula, where it is y minus y1 is equal to mx minus x1. And I am now going to substitute the values, and I am going to say y minus negative 2 is equal to, what is my slope of a perpendicular line? It's going to be again the inverse, reciprocal with the opposite sign. So it's 2/3 x minus 1. Okay, x minus 1. And then I'm going to go ahead and simplify this. This is y plus 2 is equal to 2/3 x minus 1, which is what? Distributive property. 2/3 x minus 2/3 minus 2/3. Right? And then I am going to remove the 2 from here, and I am going to do minus 2. Whatever I do on one side, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So what is the equation that I am left with now? So I'm just going to write it this way. So y is equal to, we have 2/3 x, and I have my, what is this? This is going to be 3 on 3, which is one whole, right? So therefore 2 wholes is going to be 6 on 3 over 3 and plus another 2. So minus 8/3. Minus 8/3. So here is my answer. Y is equal to 2/3 x minus 8/3. And this is the equation of my perpendicular line using the points that are provided to me. Okay, so here is my slope. Now, let's go ahead and look at relationships. Okay, we're going to determine line relationships. So let's look at this one. And it is saying determine whether AB and EF, the lines AB and line EF are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. For A being 6, 8, B being 2 and 5, E being -6, -3, and F is 0, 5. So we are looking at, are these lines parallel or perpendicular or neither? So the first thing that I need to do for each of these is to find the slope of each line. So let's go ahead and find the slope of AB first. We're going to find the slope of line AB. Okay, so slope of AB, okay, is going to be 8 minus 5 over 6 minus 2, which gives me 3/4. And then we are going to find the slope of EF, line EF, and this is going to be -3 minus 5 over -6 minus 0, which gives me -8 over -6, which is 4/3. So here's my slope and here's my slope for the other one. And to determine whether the lines are parallel, compare their slopes. The two lines do not have the same slope. So this is 3/4, this is 4/3. So these are not parallel. But I can also see that this is the reciprocal, but it is not -4/3. And so therefore this is not perpendicular either. And so it would be neither. All right, and that's basically what this entire unit is about. You're writing equations of lines in point slope form, and then you can create and identify equations of parallel or perpendicular lines in this module. And that concludes module 5.2. Have a fabulous day, everyone.